the starting point are the European Council conclusions of October of last year. Basically, there is a call, very strong call on the Commission to complete the digital single market by 2015, and it is the first priority of the Juncker's political agenda. And also a very strong call on the European Commission to create the right framework conditions for a thriving internal market for big data and cloud computing. Big data and cloud computing are regarded, so are top of mind of all the international organizations around the world. So there was the American colleague who said that big data is not just coming, big data is already here, quite rightly, and big data is considered as a driver for innovation, for growth and job creation. So how did we respond to the Council's call? By issuing a communication in July of this year. And so what the communication does, the communication sketches out the necessary requirements of a data-driven economy, and basically it sets out some actions which I will describe shortly to basically to take forward the transition towards this data-driven economy, and it seeks to initiate a debate with the Parliament, the Council, and the other stakeholders, and that's why I'm here with you, to prepare a detailed action plan to be implemented in the future. So what are the main drivers of this data-driven economy? Okay, one thing which is a main difference that between Europe and the US is the community, so is the ecosystem. In America, so across the Atlantic, there are well-established, so there is a well-established ecosystem or ecosystems that we still lack, at least at European level. So there are some local ecosystems, but there is not such a big data, a thriving big data European community which operates effectively. So something which is very important is, first of all, the establishment, and it is the prime concern of the communication, the establishment of a thriving European data ecosystem. The other thing which is important is the addressing the framework conditions which are conducive to this data-driven economy, to an effective and once again and prospering data-driven economy. And what are the framework conditions? Some of the framework conditions are regulatory in nature. First of all, the framework on data protection, or the framework on network and information security, or all the issues revolving around standardization and interoperability. Some other issues are not regulatory in nature, so there is the access to the enabling infrastructure, so cloud computing at competitive conditions, but also whenever required, HPC, high performance computing, which is required for some, particularly sophisticated data analytics applications. And also, and it is something which is of paramount importance, because when we speak with our main interlocutors, the European Data Forum, okay, the people, they speak a little bit about data protection. There is a bit of an obsession about data protection, say how to reconcile the principles of the data protection framework with the new big data phenomenon. But people are much more, so industry is much more concerned about skills. The data specialists are a very rare species, and they are very much in demand. And it is estimated that in the near future, the demand will really outstrip the supply. So we really have to create the right framework conditions and the ecosystem to make sure that the data are to retain data specialists in Europe and also attract the data specialists in Europe. So what have we, these are the objectives, what have we done so far? The first thing is we have basically set up a contractual PPP. A contractual PPP is a public-private partnership. It is a new instrument under the overarching framework on research and innovation, Horizon 2020. And what is it? It is a contract concluded between a consortium, including all these very prominent players, such as Atos, Engineering, Fraunhofer Institute, Siemens, you name it, and the Commission. So what does the PPP? The PPP does two things. The first thing is that it pulls together money that will be used for the experimentations. And the money is significant because the Commission is committing €500 million in 4 years, so over the period 2016 2020, and industry will top it up by 4 times. So overall, there will be €2.5 billion available for experimentations, research and innovation in the field of big data, which is really significant, really substantial. Also something which is very important and which is at the root of the new research and innovation policy of the Commission, the research and experimentation will be as close to the market as possible. And it will reflect the strategic priorities of industry. So basically, the community, which is part of this PPP, will drive the research and innovation agenda. So they will tell us what are the areas where it is really worth spending the money and experimenting so that we can get a competitive edge in Europe, for example, over the Americans or over the companies established in the East. And how do we do this? We'll do it through lighthouse projects. So the lighthouse projects are areas reflecting the industry priorities, such as, for example, health, logistics, energy, and also, of course, intelligent transport. As part of the PPP also, we foresee the creation of these innovation spaces. This is something very clever, because basically these innovation spaces will offer secure environments for experimenting with both private data and open data. And also these innovation spaces will act as business incubators and hubs for the development of skills, competence, and best practices. So this is the last slide and the last stop. Another action is the creation of this big data incubator for SMEs, which will become operational as of 2015. There is an innovation action. What we will do, so we will establish an open data integrator and reuse incubator for SMEs to foster the development of open data supply chains. So basically, the companies, the SMEs, with the help of the incubator, will have access to this open data, so open data sets, such as the data sets of the administrations. They will integrate it whenever possible with their private data, and they will provide, with the help of the incubators, new applications. So new applications, for example, in the field of analytics, field of visualization, and storage. And the incubator will assist the companies, for example, will assist the companies with some in leveraging finance or with legal expertise to comply with the data protection rules. So I have finished, but if there is a message that I would like to get across, is that okay, data protection is very important. The regulation is very important, but it is not the only concern of the European Commission. So from DG Connect's viewpoint, there are other things which are as important as data protection, such as the creation of the ecosystem and the creation of the right framework conditions for the emerging of a thriving data-driven economy. Thank you very much indeed.